Today I'm going to try to draw this monastery entranceway thing here in Krakow, Poland. And I want to start all of this off by talking about the difference between practice and, I guess for want of a better word, learning. Practice, like I'm doing here in the video that you're currently watching, is a process of utilizing what you know, along with ideally some degree of personal discovery along the way. So maybe while I'm practicing 1 point perspective, which you kind of see here, I uncover something about it that I hadn't previously known. Maybe through experience alone, I realized that there's a better way to do something. That's a nice feeling, but it's a rare one, and it requires obviously a lot of time and effort, and unfortunately, some level of happenstance. Then there's what I'm just referring to as outright learning. I'm talking about going out of your way to seek out information that you know is out there, rather than rely on some, artistically motivated divine intervention or epiphany. You're searching for it. Maybe you ask a professional, maybe your friends are better than you, so you ask them. Or maybe you do what the rest of us do and ask the ultimate combination of the two, professional and friend, the internet. You Google or YouTube your way to enlightenment, and all it took was the clarity to know what to ask. Right now, as I say these words, and also right there as I was drawing this, I struggle with that balance. I think I'll learn a substantial amount, maybe even a surprising amount, solely by doing what you're seeing. Simple, persistent practice. However, I know that I would learn a lot more by asking around. Experience is still crucial. It's still a major component, but I'm talking about the difference between experiencing my way to knowledge, and going straight to the source. The artist in me wants to get there through this brute force alone. He wants to make 10,000 of these videos, which I did the math is like 20 something years, just to see what it all amounts to in the end. But the sage in me, the wise one, the one with all the wisdom, knows better. Stand on the shoulders of giants, my sage says. And I agree. But how do I choose between my head and my heart? I bring this up because this drawing was a headache. There are so many godforsaken things in this reference that I do not understand. And due to the nature of this channel, it's not like I'm going to sit there and try to. I'm going to do my best with the limited skills that I have and then move on to the next drawing. My idealistic hope is that this process will mold me into a well-rounded artist, that I have all the tools I need up here. I'm pointing to my head if you can't tell. But of course, up here, still pointing at my head, is also telling me that I need to gather more tools if that's ever going to become a reality. So I've been stuck in this ping pong paradigm where I know one thing, but want the other. Back and forth, back and forth. And while sure, compromise sounds, like a good compromise, it doesn't really satisfy the idealist part of me. My dad used to talk about the phrase, that I'm sure you've heard, "I'll try anything once," that people say, and how idiotic it was. I know he was applying it to life more broadly rather than this hyper niche conundrum I'm subjecting you to. But his point, I think, still stands. He'd say something like, "Oh, yeah, you're going to try everything. How about, well, I don't know what I can actually say on here, but you get it." It would be something that the person obviously isn't going to do. And his point was to point out the absurdity of the claim and how most things don't actually need to be experienced by every individual because other individuals tried them first. And we've been lucky enough to learn from those people. We know not to jump from certain heights or eat particular plants and so on. And I think the same goes for this. What a leap. I sound so stupid right now. But seriously, I think he's right. I don't need to make 10,000 of these just for the sake of brute force, ignorant idealism, because what I would learn in the first 9,000 of them are probably at my fingertips, learnable, at least in concept, in a few months rather than decades. And that's also never been more true than today. So, with a long, dramatic sigh, I'm going to make a little bit more of an effort to learn some things outside of this practice. I know I've mentioned looking up and learning a few things here and there, but all of that probably adds up to less than an hour. If I have the time, I'd really like to be spending at least 30 minutes every day, either learning something completely new or bolstering my knowledge of something I already vaguely understand. All that said, if it wasn't for this drawing we have here, I don't think I'd be considering any of this. This one gave me so many problems. You can see countless hesitations throughout the video. And unless I learn some new techniques or gain a better understanding of certain concepts, I will be lost in the dark. For instance, perspective. Sure, I understand the absolute basics of 1-point perspective. We've gone over that. But there are so many things in this scene that seem to simply defy me and my quote unquote knowledge. So maybe some more time on the subject would be of some use. Also, shading. I've brought it up recently. I don't really want to think about shading right now. But a scene like this is just bland, empty, and ultimately pretty ambiguous if I can't shade it properly. By the end of this, you'll see that the back wall might as well be jutting out from the bottom of the page, almost like the floor is just the bottom of that brick wall, if that makes sense. It doesn't, I'm sure. And while we're on the floor, how? How and why and who? What? What am I supposed to do with these shapes? They're diagonal, but they're moving away from me. So the lines don't point to the vanishing point, which is all I know about 1-point perspective, basically. Does that mean they have their own vanishing point somewhere off the page? Is this type of thing what would call for another point in the perspective? Or are these possible to map out by using just the one that I've used here? I'm not sure. So I use my eye or my gut or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, you'll see how that turned out. And the same goes for the arches. What possibly? I made them arch. That's about it. As long as they connected to where they connected, I was fine with it. But just seriously, just look at how complex the ceiling looks. And actually, even as I say that, to be honest, none of this looks all that complex. Maybe it does to you, seeing seeing my hand attempt to draw it. But to be honest, I thought that this would be pretty easy until I started practicing beforehand. I was standing there. I had my pocket sketchbook out. I'd drawn in some little vignettes, and the reference video was maybe halfway through recording. And I just had this sinking feeling the moment I started. I didn't know where to put anything, no idea where to even begin. I eventually kind of just threw up my hands and decided to wing it. And, well, you'll see where that got me. Uh, anyway, that is well enough of this one. I'm over it. You can see in the drawing, I'm trying my best to, I don't know, not throw my sketchbook across the room. I'm coloring in the diamonds at this point, knowing that they don't resemble what I'm looking at. Yeah, I'm not really sure what I could have done here. So yeah, obviously I hate it. Not nearly as much as some of the earlier drawings. We don't need to talk about those. But this one is humbling, to say the least. I have such a long way to go, clearly. But the silver lining is exactly that. I have a long way to go, which means there will be plenty more of these for you to enjoy. Speaking of, thank you for taking the time. I do hope you enjoyed it. Hopefully more than I did. See you tomorrow with what I really hope looks quite a bit better than this. Okay, thanks.